Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we'll be discussing the. That's not. Oh, okay, good. At least it didn't crash. Usually, if I do that, it crashes. But today we'll be discussing Fluttershy Leans In, the newest MLP episode from this past Saturday here, Fluttershy episode. So that's what we'll be discussing today. If you're new here, if you're watching this on a recording, especially, we record this live at CinemaQuestria.com every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you want to come and join in the discussion, head on over to there and you can hop in the chat there. Pretty much all we're going to do is we discuss the newest episode of MLP and give our thoughts, initial thoughts, opinions on it, what we liked, what we didn't like. Pretty much everyone's able to sort of give their opinions on the different subjects of the episode. We'll kind of start more general and work into more specifics. There's a few people here in the call with me if they want to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, it's Mr. Ben. How's it going?
Hey, Mr. Ben.
We did have Matt in with us, but I think he dropped out. And
we do have JE too. Yeah, we swear they're here. Please trust us.
Yep.
They exist.
Somehow I hit my mic mute button. No.
And Matt should be here as well. He might be having some phone issues. So, so in addition to us, everyone's welcome to participate in the discussion in the chat room, and we encourage that to bring up points for discussion or whatever for the episode. And since we're running a little late today, we'll just go ahead and we'll dive right in. So what were everyone's initial thoughts on Fluttershy Leans In?
It was nice to see Fluttershy get some, more I wouldn't really say more development, more like presentation of her assertive behavior. Other than that, I mean, aside from Fluttershy basically just showing off how much of a badass she's leveled up in, there really wasn't much remarkable about the episode. I mean, its plot was overly simple, and then we had like 3 new characters who probably could have returned to learn a good lesson about, properly working with a client with a certain vision, but and the fact that being experts in their own field doesn't mean that they get to override the said client's decisions, but they were basically just told to GTFO, and they promptly did so, and we've never seen them again.
For me, I think this is probably one of my favorite. I don't want to say favorite because that's saying a lot of things, but it's one of my favorite Fluttershy episodes now. I just love what they did with it. I just loved the characterization of Fluttershy in it, and how it pretty much was showing off, showing us, the viewers, just how much she's grown as a character since the first season of the show. And it pretty much compiles all of her character development from the past 7 seasons into one episode here, and just kind of shows that off. It allows her to. It's sort of like kind of how the more recent Spike episodes are for Spike, in terms of actually having him be competent in something and showing how much he's grown, and being able to lead, etc. It's kind of a similar thing to that, but with Fluttershy, and it just allows her to actually not be a doormat for once, and not have to learn a lesson about being a doormat or anything like that. And it really just allowed her character development to shine, and I really liked that. It was really enjoyable to watch, and it was nice to have seen that in the episode.
I will admit that I was kind of surprised to see the return of the vet pony that we got from season 2, Secret of My Excess. Only now she's actually got a canon name. She's now known as Dr. Fauna. I was kind of surprised that, we not only got to see her, but we've also got an unexpected return of Big Daddy McColt of all people as well. Wasn't expecting to see him, but his return's always welcome as well.
So let's go ahead. We'll dive into the story and the writing of the episode. This episode was written by G.M. Barrow, who, of course, you might recognize as the writer to a lot of the MOP children's books. She was brought on to the show as a writer in season 5 and wrote one episode. One episode there, the episode where Shining Armor and Cadence were announcing that they were preggers. And I didn't realize this until this episode, but yeah, she was absent last season. For some reason, I kept thinking that episode was last season, but obviously that wouldn't make any sense. So she was absent from the show last season, but she's back this season here, I believe with a couple episodes she said she's written. So this would be her second episode written on the show. Yeah, I mean, I think she did a really good job here, and I think this one showcases her writing even better than her previous episode was. I really just enjoyed the continuity in this episode. We've gotten a lot of that this season, and this episode really continues that. And I really like that, and like Mr. Ben said, they're returning characters such as Dr. Fauna from all the way back in Season 2 in Secret of My Excess there. You'll remember that she was the pony that was looking at Spike when he was having the growth spurts in that episode. So it was nice seeing characters like her back here again, and used in a good way, not just kind of a random appearance just for the sake of appearance, but using them in a way that fits in with the episode and makes sense why they would be in it, especially with her being such a big part of what the whole kind of setting off the whole plot of the episode as well. And I really liked how now through multiple story editors here, we're continuing to kind of explore the main six's dreams, and sort of what their life goals are, and stuff like that. And so we've already done very specific episodes on Rarity and Rainbow Dash. I'm kind of say that some of the other ones, like maybe Twilight, we've kind of seen overall, but we've had really specific episodes for Rarity opening up different shops in Canterlot and Manhattan now. Kind of expanding and really living her dream about really making it big in the fashion industry. And of course, last season we got Rainbow Dash finally becoming a Wonderbolt after much accumulation over the past couple, few seasons before that of her making progress towards that. She finally realized that goal, that dream of herself last season. So we see Fluttershy this season doing the same thing. It's maybe not quite as big of an impact as like Rainbow Dash's was, because Rainbow Dash's, of course, has been really built up. We know what her goal is from like episode 1 of the show. So that was a lot more meaningful here. Fluttershy's one, it's not like this is a dream that she's been talking about through the accumulation of the show, but at the same time,
I do find it hilarious that this sudden dream of Fluttershy has just been dropped on us at this particular episode. She's never really mentioned it throughout the series. I mean, like you mentioned, we've had Rainbow Dash wanting to become a Wonderbolt ever since season 1. We've had we've had Rarity wanting to be more, expanding her boutique a little bit, on the more subtler side on things. But this whole I want to build an animal sanctuary and have this be like my dream thing is just kind of something that we've never heard of before in the past. Never made any mention of this, and it just whatever.
But it makes sense though. It's not something that's completely out of left field or anything.
You're kind of hurting me in the head. It's like the thing that annoys me about. Oh, hello, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Hey,
yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Would you like my opinion? Would you like my opinion?
No.
Discord, fuck Discord with a garden rake, and I don't mean the character. I mean the app.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, man, I don't recall Discord being in this episode.
I've just had to reinstall Discord. That was fun. So yeah, fuck the app. It's absolute shite. If things go wrong, I had to also reset my mobile internet because it decided to shit on me as well when I was trying to get back in. So yeah, are we doing initial?
We're in story and writing, so
we haven't had. We've already done initial thoughts, have we?
Yeah. Do you want to give your overall initial thoughts really quick, Matt? Because you can.
I can.
You can. You are allowed.
It's funny. It's funny. Just touching on Mr. Benson. My initial feeling was when Fluttershy was like making the big grandiose speech that she wanted to create an animal sanctuary. I was thinking to myself, but isn't her cottage and the surrounding area around her cottage pretty much an animal sanctuary anyway? You know, to be honest, it's kind of, you know, that was kind of my initial thought on that, and it's like perhaps she was trying to make it more of an official thing. I mean, okay, but I mean,
it's kind of
knew
what
her as the animal looking after, you know, pony of the area anyway. And sort of Dr. Fauna, who we meet, you know, fully in this episode. Obviously, she appeared in a previous episode, but you know, it was a sort of, you know, she was sort of more of a veterinarian vet. I'm just gonna say vet. I can't say
veterinarian.
Vet.
Yeah, that. But yeah, she's more of a vet than than Fluttershy is. Although Fluttershy still sort of has some, you know, basic knowledge of being able to patch animals up, basically. I think it's funny. My initial watch through of the episode, I just kind of found it kind of meh. But subsequent watches, there's like little subtle things, and it's just sort of things which they draw from episodes in the past that make me really enjoy this episode the more I watch it. Which is odd because you would think when you sort of watch an episode like this, when you've seen it once, you feel like you've seen it all, but that's not really the case here. Especially if if you just think to yourself, oh, that's something that they've pulled from this episode. Oh, this is a combination of all the previous sort of episodes that Fluttershy sort of had in sort of recent times, or, you know, even from all the way back to, like, you might as well say season 2. You know, basically the episode that got the ball rolling on all this is probably Hurricane Fluttershy. It's really nice to see the contrast of how sort of she acts in sort of the earlier seasons to how she acts in this episode in particular.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a difference still between what Fluttershy kind of had in terms of her cottage and sort of what her dream is to turn that into, in terms of having a big open animal sanctuary for animals, you know, with all sorts of stuff outside where they're free, rather than just kind of letting animals crash at her place, like she pretty much has right now.
She lives on the outskirts of Ponyville. She basically lives sort of between Ponyville and the Everfree Forest, and obviously the animals have the free reign of the Everfree Forest. So that's why I sort of kind of felt was like, yeah, you're kind of sort of living.
But
the
how free are the
dream anyway?
How free is the Everfree Forest? Because the Everfree Forest has always been kind of characterized as sort of dark, and things are wild and unyieldy there. That where a lot of these animals I really don't see kind of going in there to hang out. I mean, there's animals. The animals in there are like the timber wolves and stuff like that.
You see animals living in there, so you know.
To
be fair, animals will live wherever they can basically live. You know, if it's habitable, that they will live there.
I wouldn't really call the Everfree Forest safe anyway. I mean, where Fluttershy kind of wants like a safe location
the jungle's not safe. Really, for any if you're prey, then you're not safe.
But that's kind of the point of an animal sanctuary. It's a place for these animals to go if they're recovering from being injured or sick, so they can be safe.
But that's why they were obviously hanging around Fluttershy's cottage. And I suppose what you're saying is that she wants somewhere bigger or more, you know.
Well, the sick animals weren't even hanging around Fluttershy's cottage. They were hanging out in the doctor's office, overcrowding her place. I mean, Fluttershy was pretty much just like, she loves animals, so if animals want to come in, she lets them come in. But she just wants like an actual official kind of animal sanctuary where after these animals that are recovering, they can go and relax and be safe, rather than
But the thing is, though, in previous episodes, that's kind of what she was. I mean, she has a lot of animals living.
Is it? I mean, all the animals there were just kind of like
not overrun like Fauna's office, obviously, in this episode. But in previous episodes, it's not like she's lacking animals round her cottage, really.
Yeah, but that's not the point. I mean, that's a totally different thing from an animal sanctuary. That's just her inviting animals in, you know, because she's friendly, and they come in because she's friendly, but not a place where they can go.
From the Everfree Forest, though, or the surrounding area, though, they're going to be safer in and around her cottage than they are out in the wild. So it's a sanctuary of sorts. Admittedly, like you say, it's not like a proper, balls to the wall, actual proper sanctuary with fencing and actual, where it's being, overlooked and run, like say, like a wildlife park, say. It's not that, but it's still a sanctuary of sorts.
I mean, if you're going to pull it, but I mean, I don't think that discredits her dream at all. In terms of actually opening up an actual animal sanctuary.
To be fair, let me say this: I would rather her want an animal sanctuary or a wildlife park over a zoo. I don't think she'd ever want a zoo.
Yeah, she's pretty much against cages, as we saw in the episode. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that her dream wasn't like to go out and become a rock star or something. It was.
I thought her dream would be a pile of sticks.
I thought her dream was to be a tree. What happened to that?
Well, she lived the dream.
she's moving on to other dreams now. Oh my god.
Hell, she lived that dream back in Hurricane Fluttershy. So.
But yeah, it was still nice overall to kind of see her what her dream is, because we haven't really seen,
it's not really surprising what her dream is.
No, definitely not. No, yeah, it's not like it's a out of left field surprise, but it's not something that has been really hit on in the show before.
Surprising is saying that Twilight likes books. It's like, no shit.
Or that Applejack's dream is to eat all the apples in the world.
I don't know about that. Well,
Until she
wait! I'm now expecting a man versus food type episode with Applejack doing that.
You can't eat all those apples. If you are going to eat all these apples.
Oh my god! Now she's got to save up enough money so she can afford Granny's funeral, so Granny can finally die. That's your dark comment of the day right there.
I was going to say she could afford the money so that she could actually find what happened to her parents, but okay.
She's going to hire Detective Rarity. She's going to get on the case.
Oh, God. Rarity investigates too. Investigate harder.
Speaking of callbacks, there's another callback in this was, because there's so many of them, was Rarity calling back to her Canterlot boutique a couple seasons ago there, saying that the expert that she brings in was someone who had helped her out with the design of her boutique in Canterlot there. So that was a nice little tie-in there. I believe Wrangler was actually a character. I had never read this book, but I remember someone mentioning that there was a character from one of G.M. Barrow's books as well.
Yeah, that was
book
me.
Continuity there.
Yeah. AJ mentioned she met Wrangler during Winona's sheep herding days, which was a reference to Barrow's novel of Fluttershy and the Fine Furry Friends Fair. So,
whew. Say that.
So that's Gillian basically going, buy my books! Buy my books!
I need to get paid, please.
Hey, it's better than having an IDW writer go and buy our comics, so,
And of course we have the construction ponies, who we our pony, I guess, that we've seen him in previous episodes as well. So it kind of
hard hat, yeah.
Hard hat is. I didn't know he had a name, but yeah.
I love the fact. I'll wait till we get to VA.
Okay.
Because by the way, I'll say it now. I believe it's Michael Dawson, I think is the name of the guy that voices Hard Hat.
Michael Dobson?
Michael
Dobson, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's somebody. Yeah. Apparently, he's going to be playing General Zod in the next Supergirl film.
Yeah, Michael Dobson's done quite a few voices on the show.
But yeah, I can't. When I read that, I was like, really? Wow.
And of course,
I now expect him to say kneel before Zod, though.
Kneel before Hard Hat. and his awesome pet hospital. And then of course to kind of cap off the continuity train here, we have Big Daddy McColt It was completely unexpected, but it made a lot of sense in the context of the story. That it was just such a great callback to the season 5 episode Hofields and McColts with Fluttershy and Twilight, and of course they both kind of acknowledged it in this episode, going there and helping them, and of course Big Daddy McColt being part of the family of McColts who were very good builders. So it was just a nice bit of continuity that they were familiar with. It's someone that Fluttershy could maybe trust it a little more than just some random construction worker. And it was nice just seeing a character like that. I would never expected to see any of the Hofields or McColts ever return ever. So that was a nice little continuity surprise.
I'm always surprised someone remembered they actually existed. I know that's a bit harsh on the episode, but the episode was kind of in the sort of, it was very much in the middle, really. Let me say this: it wouldn't be the first episode I'd probably reach for my continuity. So, good job for Gillian there for actually remembering that episode exists. And it made sense, having Big Daddy McColt there. It's not like it was like something that she pulled out of her ass or anything. It made perfect sense.
Yeah. So I'll pose a question here about the story here is. Who does everyone think is at fault in the episode in terms of kind of what happens? Is Fluttershy at fault? Is the experts at fault? Both of them? Because it's a question I've seen raised elsewhere, and just discussion I've seen elsewhere. So I'm kind of curious what everyone thinks.
I don't think there's really any blame anywhere. Really, it's sort of. Not really. It's just one of those things. You ask for some people's advice, and then their advice you don't necessarily agree with, and you basically sort of decline that help. I don't think it's more a case of really blame. I think that's the wrong question to really ask. I think it's more a question of it's good to get advice, but don't necessarily take that advice because it might not necessarily be suitable or applicable to you. And in the case of Fluttershy, what she wanted and what she was offered were two completely different things, and she basically decided, in pretty fair terms, I feel, that she didn't want that, and she felt that what she wanted was not what she was being offered to her, and I don't really think that's really anyone's fault. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, and the reason I kind of bring up this question is because I've seen a lot of people kind of place blame on both, like saying it's part Fluttershy's fault because she wasn't kind of clear enough or something, or didn't articulate her dream well or something like that. But really, my opinion is I believe that the experts in this case are 100% at fault kind of for what happened, with Fluttershy not really having any fault at all. And the reason why I say that, well, let me say the reason I say. The reason why I say that is because Fluttershy made it pretty clear from the beginning, what she was looking for. I mean, it's not like she presented them blueprints or something like that. I mean, obviously she's not going to be able to do that, but she presents a lot of drawing and a pretty clear vision of what she wants. The experts then try doing stuff different from what Fluttershy wants, kind of how they would normally do it or what they know, how they know to do stuff. But they know full well that isn't what she's looking for. And then Fluttershy, after they start doing that, and they're Fluttershy is sort of having a one-on-one with each of the experts as to what their ideas are. She pretty much each tells them each of them individually that no, that's not what she wants, and then reiterates what her dream is. But then the experts go ahead and do what they were going to do anyway, even though Fluttershy specifically told them not to, just because they said, no, I know what I'm doing, she's wrong, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway, even after Fluttershy's told them no. So I think they're 100% at fault there. Fluttershy did everything she needed to. Should these experts have been involved on the project? Probably not. No, I mean, I don't think any of them really had the ability or the will to do the project the way Fluttershy wanted to. But there's really no way Fluttershy. That's the key thing there. Yeah, I don't really think there's any way Fluttershy could have known this. I mean, as her friends recommended them all to her, and the experts never told her directly that they couldn't or wouldn't do things that they wanted. They just went behind her back and did it anyway, even though she told them no. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of how I see it in terms of the blame.
Especially since later, AJ and Pete they all apologize and say they wouldn't have brought them out on if they knew they were going to act like that.
Yeah. And then they
I
all
think-
start doing the
I
same
think
thing.
What it is they have you know I don't know. This is perhaps something that perhaps we could perhaps talk about in terms of the cutie marks in Equestria and you know the abilities and talents of ponies in this show. But it seems to me that each of these ponies that was obviously offered, you know, for their advice, you know, from Fluttershy's friends, is a case of that they're so rigid in their kind of abilities and what they can do that they weren't able to sort of step outside that box, if you see what I mean. And they couldn't do something that necessarily Fluttershy wanted. I mean, it's kind of funny to think that Fluttershy sort of kind of knew a pony that was basically sort of able to basically help realize that kind of that dream in Big Daddy McColt.
As well as their friends too.
I think the thing that you can apportion blame to is going behind when they went behind her back and started doing it anyway. Yeah, that is the big issue.
Yeah, that's what changes it.
That's the crutch of the problem. But giving the blame to Fluttershy, it's you could say that her dream was kind of vague, and to a degree it is. But to be fair, it's. I mean, she says that it's something that's not been done before, which, you know, brings up another good question. Is there any other nature reserves in Equestria? But by the sound of them saying, oh, it's never been something that's been done before, it sounds like this could be the first ever nature reserve in Equestria. You know, which seems bizarre to me, to be honest, when you consider sort of how developed a society that Equestria is. But I mean, obviously you've got to start somewhere, and this may well be the place.
Of course,
it seems weird to me.
The relationship between the pony race and nature, and humans and nature, I think, is a lot closer. Like they're a lot closer to nature than we are. So where we like have nature preserves because we're so far away from nature, and that's why we have parks and nature preserves and stuff. I think ponies in a lot of ways are a little bit closer in some ways, especially with their animal brethren. Just by the nature of the laws of this show, I guess. So I guess like Matt said, I guess, you know, they never really had anything like this. But she did present like I said, she didn't like have blueprints or anything, but she had a drawing that she showed to Hard Hat of, you know, it's a lake and here's a bunch of trees, you know, of pretty much what the final product was. And he goes and builds a freaking, you know, hospital. It's just a point that Mr. Ben was putting in the chat about saying the fact that Fluttershy perhaps should have had a landscaping expert rather than a building expert. Well, to be fair, she was not offered a landscaping expert. I mean, if she knew a landscaping expert, she may well have used a pony like that. But I mean, she wasn't offered one, so we don't really know.
On top of that, it also kind of falls a lightly bit on Hard Hat to possibly, you know, if he had any sense about him, he probably would have came to that same conclusion as well, and he probably would have told Fluttershy that as well. It's like, you know, hey, if you're looking for this, then I'm not the type of pony you need. You need a landscape expert.
And that's what they should have done. They should have either said, I'm not able to do this, like Hard Hat, or in the terms of rarities expert, I don't want to do this. You know, I have no business being here. But they just, none of the even, there was no communication there. And I mean, yeah, you could argue that Fluttershy should be supervising more, I guess, but not really, because she met with each of them individually. She was going back to check on the progress at the time when they were in the middle of building everything there. And that was pretty much her checking up on the progress, and when she saw that it wasn't going the way she wanted, she immediately put a stop to it and dismissed them because they pretty much weren't following anything that she said. Yeah.
Especially when the animals actually come in, we see that everything that the supposed experts had didn't work out because you have the giraffe and the animals bumping into the structures of the hospital.
Which Fluttershy mentioned, before as well, that was going to happen. So.
It was funny because when we've seen Fluttershy lose it, she can really lose it. I mean, season 1 finale is a good example. But it's funny that when she basically got upset here, she was much more tempered in her response, which is something that I think is actually, it's a subtle thing that you might not necessarily pick up on first watching. It's interesting to see just how she actually reacts to how, when things are actually going wrong. The Fluttershy of like early season 1 would have probably just like said, "Oh, never mind, sorry for wasting your time," and basically just not bothered. That would have basically been the original Fluttershy.
Yeah, well, the original. There's kind of like two kinds. You got the really shy, like not even trying to intervene here or trying or just being a doormat to them.
More of a background character.
Oh, don't say it. But then there's the second one, like we had in Best Night Ever. Like when she actually does get angry, she goes really over the top and just like Tourette's, like yelling, kind of angry. But here she's angry and she's frustrated and she's expressing that. But at the same time, it's very held back. She's very polite, and then she, because politely, she very politely, but then she really, well, I think she was angry both, but then she gets kind of politely, sternly, but politely dismisses them rather than just saying "fuck the fuck off" or something like that. So I think it is showing a little bit more maturity and growth for her in that aspect. Not only just being able to stand up to people, but being able to be stern but still be somewhat polite and kind at expressing that frustration or anger.
Fluttershy to be the next mayor of Ponyville. You heard it here first.
No, just wait till Emma Larson comes back next season and she'll replace Twilight.
Oh God. No, I've already told you what's going to happen when Emma Larson writes again for the show. It'll be the next time he'll write for the show will be for a season finale, and it'll be to give Starlight Glimmer her wings and horn. Sorry, her wings even. Just her wings. There you go.
Kletu, I who knows? I mean, that kind of money in this universe is not always sort of is not always sort of dealt with directly in terms of payment for stuff and.
Well, we could have a whole discussion about bits versus gems and their values, considering the CMC episode with that massive hairdryer.
Yeah, exactly.
Under it. I still love that.
Another writing question in terms of the story of the episode that I had, because this is another point I've seen discussed since the episode premiered is this episode bad as a standalone episode? I've seen some people complain that it doesn't really have a moral or lesson, or you can't really take anything away from it other than just, Fluttershy has grown as a character. So do you think that outside of this episode showing, kind of solidifying how far Fluttershy has come as a character, is this episode good as a standalone episode?
I think you'll get more out of it if you've seen previous episodes. I would say that, but I still think that there's a moral center to it of basically standing up for yourself and not taking crap from other people. That they want something that you're not necessarily are in agreement with. It'd be like say you commission someone to do say you want to commission someone to do some fan art, and say you ask for you want just as an example, Rarity and Applejack smooching each other. And they give you.
What are you talking about?
But instead they give you Big Macintosh and Fluttershy. It's not what you asked for.
That's blasphemy.
So it's I think there is a moral for this episode, but I will agree that to a certain extent, to understand Fluttershy's character growth, you do need to have at least seen a few previous episodes to sort of fully grasp that. I think to be fair, you could make that argument with a lot of episodes, like where there is a moral center to each episode anyway, but there is, and I think it's grown as obviously as the episode, as the show's gone on, there's going to be more callbacks. It's just I think it's just the nature. I mean, this is, of course, a nature of a good show. I mean, a bad show would just basically forget what happened in the previous episode and have a completely new episode every time.
And I think a lot of the people that were saying things like this that I saw were the main complaint was that since Fluttershy is already kind of standing her ground here throughout the entire episode and sticking up for herself, not being a doormat, etc., that she doesn't really take anything away from the episode. She doesn't learn anything, so we don't take anything away. I think that's
didn't stop people enjoying Super Soda Squeezy 6000, and Applejack learned fucking nothing.
But it's kind of similar to that, I guess, because I mean, there's a couple things I think this episode has going for it. I mean, besides just the awesome Fluttershy parts, I think first off, I think it's that experts might always know the best way of doing something, especially like the way you want it. So it's kind of important to know who you're working with and maintain that two ways of communication throughout, just so the desired product is delivered to you. I think that's kind of one of the morals for it, and that's something that Fluttershy sort of also gleams from the episode. And in a way, it's kind of like there's also lessons for us as the viewer that might not be for Fluttershy, but we can still take stuff away from the episode. Like sometimes you have to stick up for your beliefs even if others don't agree, and in a working sense, part ways with those who aren't working with you rather than caving into them. And it's not really something that Fluttershy learns in the episode, but it's something she's gained from many of the cumulative past episodes that she's been in. And it's still a lesson for us, the viewer in it. And then on top of that, Fluttershy pretty much directly mentions a lesson at the end in terms of sometimes all we need to do is believe in our dreams, and when we finally reach our goal, we'll know it was worth it, worth what it took to get there, because the view will be even greater than what you imagined.
All it was missing was the dear Celestia at the dear Princess Celestia at the very beginning.
So I mean, that's also something that Fluttershy realizes throughout the episode, and that we can take away from it. So yeah, I still think more than just this episode being cool because we get to see Fluttershy, a cumulative nature of Fluttershy's growth and sort of a defining moment of her character changing based on her past experiences. Even more than that, I still think there's stuff we can pull away from the episode. And really, it's just an important episode for Fluttershy and us viewing her character, since we can just clearly see all the progress she's made over the past 7 seasons and her development, and finally getting to see her stick up for herself with complete strangers. I mean, we've seen her do it in the past, especially to the main 6. We saw her do that in the season 5, the Halloween episode there, where she sticks up to her friends at the end.
I'd say the first time we really see that is in season 3, when she sticks up basically to try and help out, help reform Discord.
Yep,
I think that's the first time she really stands up to the rest of the main 6. I think that was, I think that one of the turning points. I mean, the turning point, I think, was Hurricane Fluttershy. I will never ever stress how important that fucking episode is. It is that important to me.
But I think this is really one of the first episodes where we see her doing that then to kind of complete strangers.
To any pony, yeah. I mean,
and that's something that's that's very important for this episode and important for her character.
And I think it's also important without provocation.
Yeah.
Because obviously she did end up standing up to Iron Will, but that was after basically being trod right all over before.
Yeah, and that's kind of an important thing about this episode, where it could have easily been an episode where similar thing happens, but instead it's Fluttershy learning that same lesson again in the episode, and maybe being a doormat at the beginning of the episode or middle, and then in the very end once everything's going wrong, then sticking up. But we see her sticking up for herself and her ideals all throughout the entire episode. Not just at the end because everything went into a shit show. So I really like that.
Necessarily steamroll when they did, because when they obviously went behind her back to actually build what she didn't really want, you could almost say that they were trying to steamroller her and make her a doormat. But she if anything, she stood even firmer and basically just told them to get the fuck out.
And personally, I'm okay with them not learning a lesson. I mean, I don't really think it was necessary, I guess, for the experts to learn some sort of lesson there, like, oh, they should have been like, oh, hey, we were wrong or something. I think it's a little more realistic that, you know, these people were just kind of not going to take any blame for this and thought they were in the right and just kind of begrudgingly walk away.
They were there for a specific reason, and they were basically it's like having a tool set and using you know, a hammer for screwing in a screw. You know,
wait, you're not supposed to do that
kind of thing. Well, you can, and it might work, but it's not exactly going to be the most elegant solution.
Was there any other story or writing parts that anyone wants to talk about before we move on specifically to characters?
I love just seeing how like in awe Rainbow can be of Fluttershy. It's just bizarre to me, but it's also wonderful.
Yeah, I'm kind of moving on to the characters here because that's kind of one of the first points that I had here as well. It was really nice to seeing kind of at the beginning, like middle of the episode there, seeing Rainbow Dash being so moved by when Fluttershy's kind of telling all the main six what her dream is. I mean, you know, just because they're the two oldest friends of the group, you know, both of them knew each other since they were fillies. So it was nice seeing her kind of being so happy for Fluttershy there.
Might have been bizarre for Rainbow to say, "Is this the same pony I met in flight school?"
But yeah, I mean, she definitely has the biggest view of the growth.
You know what's happened to Fluttershy? This isn't the real Fluttershy. You know what happened? Aliens.
Changeling? Oh, okay, that works too. Why not?
How long until we get an edgy Fluttershy game like Shadow the Hedgehog?
Oh God. No.
Because aliens.
I'm not saying it was changelings, but it was changelings.
Oh. No, what you see is you see Fluttershy just, you know, looking after her the beginning of the episode will be just Fluttershy just, you know, tending to her animals, and then 30 seconds in, aliens. That's basically what Shadow the Hedgehog is.
Why? It was really nice in terms of Fluttershy's character. It was just really nice seeing how her with such determination throughout the episode, and just especially at the end where everything just kind of doesn't go right, and she's kind of at the lowest point of the episode because the sanctuary is kind of a disaster because, you know, obviously nothing was built according to plan, and just kind of seeing her recover from that, both when they were in the animal hospital and when she was back talking with the main six as well, and kind of telling them, no, we're going to do this my way. It was just great seeing, you know, her kind of knowing exactly what she wants and doing anything she can kind of do to achieve that dream. And then, like mentioned before, it was just great not seeing her being a doormat, like, not even once in the episode. Like I mentioned earlier in the initial thoughts, it was kind of like a Spike episode, but for like some of the newer Spike episodes, but for Fluttershy, where, you know, finally we kind of can see them, you know, sticking up for themselves and being, you know, with Spike, you know, being competent in something and succeeding in it. Here we can see, you know, Fluttershy not being a doormat at all. She's very consistently, still politely, but consistently rejecting the experts' opinions. And when that doesn't work, she puts her hooves down and, you know, and just dismissing them. So it's just nice to see having this episode. It was just nice not having this episode be another one where Fluttershy has to learn these things again, or it winds up being the lesson in the end or something. It's just like she already has learned these things in the previous seasons, and she's just kind of finally getting to show her growth as a character directly in those aspects.
To be fair, it's pretty difficult for a tree to be a doormat.
I've seen, yeah. I mean, there's doormats that use kind of, you know, wood fibers and stuff in them. Just gotta grind it up first.
Really, Ryan? So you're saying grind up Fluttershy, she'll be good to walk on?
Yes. Yellow is a very pleasing color for doormats. Sure, you can wipe your feet on me if that's okay with you.
Also, by the way, just adding to the counter of people basically saying that this episode sucks. Yes, Starlight does appear in this episode, therefore it must suck.
It must suck.
Even though she doesn't have a spoken line in the entire episode, she appears in it, therefore it must
this
suck.
episode was so great. I love the characterization of Fluttershy. And what the fuck is that, Starlight? Fuck this shit. 0 out of 10.
Ray just walks out and just stomps and just slams the door.
But in all seriousness, no, it was nice to see, even though she was, absent the entire episode, it was nice seeing her kind of helping at the end there, along with the CMC and Big Mac, and then the building montage at the end. I know that was kind of a nitpick of not people who hated Starlight, but people that liked her. A nitpick of last season was that there was a lot of absence from her, where maybe it was just all the main six were there, but Starlight never showed up in the episode. So it was nice kind of seeing her be involved and stuff like that. Being that she's obviously still around Ponyville there.
Oh yeah, the CMC were in this episode. Hi CMC, bye CMC.
We'll see you next week.
Hopefully we see more from you this season.
Hey, we're only 5 episodes. This is really the first episode, isn't it, that isn't really focusing on Starlight or Twilight, right? It's like it's this beginning kind of the season has been very focused on Starlight and Twilight, over the first 4 episodes there. So kind of get our first episode here that's focused on someone else.
Well, it's really the first time we've seen anyone. We had we obviously had Pinky last episode, so.
Yeah. I mean, we had the side story of All Bottled Up with all the main 6, but still, I mean, that was kind of a lot that was mainly focused on Starlight there.
And to be fair, the first episode was mostly focused on Rad Ember.
I want a whole episode with Ember because, yeah, what's up, Starlight? Yeah. Homies.
I want to cross over with Dippy Fresh.
Ember Fresh. The
Ember Fresh.
Dragon Fresh.
The My Little Pony Fresh Prince intro needed like 100% more Ember in it.
We should call it Pony Toast, the Fresh Maker.
God. So if you stick a pony in cola, does it explode?
Actually, man, instead of Mentos, it should be Mertos.
Oh God.
The puns, they hurt.
Mertos. That sounds like a villain. Oh, it's the evil Mertos. Watch out, Twilight.
Dios tenemos muertos.
Don't put him in a bottle and shake him.
Oh God. That's gonna be the MOP movie villain there, and that's how they're gonna defeat him. Hurry, get him in that cola.
How do you think the storm happened from the Storm King? I know my headcanon.
It was a storm of cola raining down. Oh gosh.
Yeah, the stickiness was going to not come out of our coats for weeks.
I think the elements of harmony are gone for good. Waterstar. I doubt we'll see them. They kind of.
Honest, I think the elements of harmony was a crutch to all of each character's personality traits, and I think getting rid of them was probably one of the better things that the show did.
Yeah, it was something. It worked really well for the show beginning, but they kind of needed to move away from it, or else it was going to be
characters. It was fine, but they didn't need it after a while. It was unnecessary.
It would have been repetitive, yeah.
Although to be fair, like you said, like they said in the episode, calling her Fluttershy now is kind of a misnomer. They say Flutter Bold. I just think more like
Flutter Italic.
We should just call her Flutter. No, I still prefer my one, Flutter Comic Sans.
No, oh my gosh, no. Someone needs to do this. Someone please make a font that's called Flutter Sans. That would be brilliant. Come on. I really liked going back to the determination of Fluttershy when she's kind of giving that final speech to the main six right after all of her friends kind of jump in and each try and start giving their ideas, and she stands up to all of them. I guess really like that kind of final speech she kind of gives them, and she gets like that point where her wings just kind of, she's so like determined that her wings just kind of open, and it's not something you normally see Fluttershy do. So and she was just
Rainbow was so proud of her because Fluttershy had her first wing bone.
And it's funny because, you know, at the end of that scene and a couple other scenes in the show, you see Fluttershy kind of is a little embarrassed at her outspokenness a couple times there, which was kind of cute.
The point of no turning back. We can't see in a subsequent episode, say like later in the season or in say season 8 or whenever in the future, if we see her acting like a doormat again, I mean, unless it's for a very good specific reason, there's gonna, you know, basically people are gonna be saying, hang on a minute, you kind of do this episode and then you revert her back. It's like, yeah, that's no.
To be truthful, have you really seen Fluttershy being a doormat anytime recently?
No. But what I'm saying is, if it ever did, it would cause problems. Let's just say.
But I'm just trying to think of when the last time we've really seen her getting kind of pushed around. I mean, she really hasn't for a while, and it hasn't really been a problem from them writing. So hopefully that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
3, you might as well say.
Yeah.
I would say. To be fair, I mean, I would say that there's not that many specific Fluttershy episodes. There's probably more than I can remember, but right now. But compared to say, I don't know, rarity. This isn't a criticism. This is more of a case of.
No, I'm just surprised you don't know all the Fluttershy episodes by heart.
Well, I know most of them. I mean, I know the important ones. To be fair, I'm too busy enamored in the more recent episodes than to keep like looking back. To be honest, which, you know, it makes. I think it's just, you know, there's so much good stuff in this show, you know. But anyway, but it's going to be interesting to see what they. I suppose the real question will be is what do they actually do with Fluttershy in future? Because really, her main existence and main arc was basically her, you know, her shyness. You know, it's in her name, and you know how she's overcome those things. And to be honest, you know, for the most part, she's pretty much overcome most of the things that you think. I mean, fear in front of crowd, she's, you know, faced that. Fear in front of, you know, facing up to truths with her friends, facing up to, you know, basically standing up to others that offer, you know, that offer things to her that you know, she may not necessarily want. She's now done that. I mean, it's going to be interesting what they actually end up doing with Fluttershy in the future. Because to be fair, you know, obviously there's obviously the animal side that we can see. I mean, I want to see the parkour tournament that Angel Bunny was supposed to be entering.
But I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about like Rainbow Dash or Rarity or a lot of other ponies where, you know, maybe one aspect of them they've already kind of accomplished.
Achievement
it, like,
unlocked.
Yeah, achievement unlocked kind of things. But there's other you know, facets to the characters and stories that they can put the characters into, I guess. That can still explore.
Like I said, aliens.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
Make Fluttershy edgy. Just give her a gun and say, "Where's that damn fourth carrot I need for Angel?"
But yeah, I mean, I still think that, you know, we've still had episodes with Rainbow. We've still had episodes with Rare. I mean, I still think that it's not like I don't think there's anything they can necessarily do with her anymore just because of that. So
aliens.
Did your phone just vibrate? Or is that your fan?
No.
It's probably JE.
No.
Shouldn't be me because
I
I have
had to
mine on.
my phone.
Shouldn't be me because I have mine. Instead to push to talk, you shouldn't hear it vibrate.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
So vibrates while I'm talking.
No, that was me. I'm using my phone as well, and it went dark, so I couldn't see the chat, and so I had to put my finger over the because I've got a fingerprint scanner on my phone, so I can just use that to wake it up.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I guess in terms of everything here, I guess the only other thing I really had to mention was it's just nice seeing the show still have a lot of really good like new writers and who know a lot about the show. I think Gianbara kind of have proven herself that she has a pretty great knowledge of the shows. I mean, she's only obviously been writing for the show since season 5, but obviously writing books before that. But I mean, I think she has really good knowledge of Fluttershy and all the other characters of the show, and wrote them really well in here. Yeah. Yep. And gosh, I so far this season we've had pretty much all of the writers this season have not been on the show since before season 5. You have, Joanne and Christine story editing it, and their first episode was, Castle Sweet Castle in season 5. Gianbaro, first episode was season 5, and then last week's episode was a completely new writer. So we'll see if we have any older writers return this season. But so far, it's even with Josh Haber having not written anything so far. Last season we had Haber, we had Polsky, who was the oldest writer who wrote one episode last season. But yeah, Haber was season 4, but now we're kind of even getting close. So
Polsky is definitely not.
Well, yeah, we already knew that. But I was just saying
he's doing Hanazuki. But,
yeah, but I was
fair, it's the only writer I can think of that's been around for a long time that may come back is someone like Cindy Morrow, because I don't really know what she's even doing at the moment. So it's sorry, I do know what Cindy's doing. She's doing she's helping with the second season of Miraculous Ladybug. Never mind.
But yeah, I guess kind of point is it's kind of interesting to see the show take on now just new writers. Like last season we didn't have any. Dave Polsky was the only writer that had been there for a while, and then everyone else hadn't been there since before season 4, and now we're kind of moving that back down to really no one has been here since, at least so far this season, since season 5. So it's just interesting just to see all these new fresh faces come on with new ideas and helping to keep the show fresh as well.
New writers, the fresh maker.
Yeah, Angel was a little bitch in this episode as usual.
What is he not, practically? I mean, there's been a few moments, but I just can't think of off the top of my head.
I wonder how many people were celebrating that he completely failed and ended up hurting his foot, though.
Everyone. You could hear people standing up and just applauding for miles around when the episode premiered.
I wonder how he would get on in a parkour competition, though. I really want to see that now.
Come on.
I wonder who he'd go up against. Who would? I mean, to be fair, I think Scoodler would probably be pretty good at parkour.
I guess, but she'd have trouble getting those long distances.
Well, to be fair, Angel Bunny, so...
At least not yet.
Oh, God. Princess Angel Bunny.
Anything else for characters? Character discussion that anyone wants to bring up, or any other characters anyone wants to discuss that we didn't really talk about so far?
It's interesting how Twilight was very much in a backseat to all of this. I think she had 2 lines in the whole episode. It's interesting how she's in this case she's very much not like taking any like sort of head role or anything. She was pretty much very much in the background. It was kind of unusual because obviously the last time we saw Fluttershy with Twilight, it was more of a 50-50 episode. So, but it was just an observation though, nothing like major or anything.
I'm kind of glad because sometimes when they try and shoehorn, especially of course season 1 was that was a bigger issue there, trying to shoehorn the main six in more than they need to be. Yeah, it's so they were all there, but they didn't none of them kind of overstayed their welcome. Their presence was there. It made sense. They didn't overstay their welcome. Fluttershy kept the center stage there. And of course, with the other three of them, Pinky, Applejack, and Rarity being the ones that offered the experts that they knew that they obviously had a little bit bigger part in the episode for those scenes. Okay, so moving on.
I think the best voice acting was from Angel Bunny with his crying.
God. Fuck him. So yeah, so voice acting. Was there anything that stood out for the voice acting that anyone wants to mention?
I can't seem to find.
Does it actually mention who voices Angel? Sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
I was about to say I was actually trying to look for a list of the voice actors. I couldn't seem to find anything, but.
Well, one of the interesting things was, I know something that surprised me is that when I first heard Wrangler, I thought it was just Ashley Ball kind of pitching up her Applejack voice, because it sounded pretty much like Ashley Ball pitching up her voice for Wrangler. But Wrangler was actually voiced by Kazumi Evans, who was, of course, Rarity's singing voice, and has voiced some other characters for like Equestria Girls and stuff as well. But that surprised me. She did a really good job with that. I really thought it was Ashley Ball.
Hey, look, it's a character voiced by Nicole Oliver that's not Princess Celestia. Hooray!
Just say, yeah, we got.
It was interesting because Dr. Fauna was in her previous appearance in season 2 was voiced by Kathy Wisluck.
It's interesting, yeah. It's also interesting to note that Tara Strong basically gets almost last fiddle in terms of, because the voice acting credits now for since I think season 6, they basically have them in order of basically sort of the prominence or the importance of the character to the episode.
I really come on, Big Daddy McCall, he should have been above her.
To be fair, I think he should have been. Above. I think he should have basically been above, like, Dandy Grandeur. I think he should have been just under Dr. Fauna.
They probably do it based on number of lines.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That many lines.
Because he just kind of had that one line.
So Twilight Sparkle had 2 lines. Big Daddy McCall must have had either 2 or 1.
I can look up the transcript real fast. I got it, like, practically right here in front of me.
I really have to give props to not Ashley Ball, sorry, to Andrea Libman, get my A's confused, just for the Fluttershy performance here, especially in the parts where Fluttershy is getting really frustrated and kind of very stern in her voice. She was really able to bring Fluttershy's voice into that kind of zone without making it sound too much like Pinkie Pie here. I know there's sometimes in the past where Fluttershy has gotten angry where it kind of sounds more like Pinkie than Fluttershy, but I really think she was able to really keep that Fluttershy feel to the voice and just give it some more, frustration behind it. This was also Mackenzie Gray's first voice acting role for the series here as Dandy Grandeur.
Yeah, Mackenzie's voice here has Dandy Grandeur was actually pretty well done for that sort of stuffy upper sort of. I really don't want to say the stuffy British, considering our company here.
I said.
But yeah. But really more of that that I guess stuffy upper nobleman type of person.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
then Mark Gibbon, his hard hat, did pretty well as well.
and this was also his
I
first
do
role
have
in
to
the show.
admit, I do have to admit, I actually kind of missed Kathy Weislug's portrayal as Dr. Fauna, but Nicole Oliver did really good as well. So
And then, of course, Peter Culmus returns, reprising his role as Big Daddy McColt here as well this season. He's voiced quite a bit since in season 6 of the show, since he appeared as Big Daddy McColt back in season 5. But it was good to see him return for that character as well.
It's amazing just how many more voice actors the show uses now.
Yep. There's a lot of ones, kind of reoccurring ones that have a couple of parts rather than just kind of using the existing main, and secondary cast. Anything else for voice acting?
I think Rainbow said it best in the episode. Pretty awesome.
So not quite as much as the past couple weeks in this department, but what does everyone have to say about the episode's humor?
I kind of like how when Fluttershy and Dr. Fauna said, "Oh dear," actually hopped by in the background. It was
Yeah.
perfect comedic timing right there.
I didn't notice that until my third watch through. I guess thought there was a deer behind it because they're being the place was being overrun by animals, there. So, hey, there's one of them escaped. But it took me the third watch to realize it was a response to her saying, "Oh dear."
There was also the little bit where Fluttershy opens up her massive cabinet. If you look inside, she's got a little tiny wheelchair in there.
It's full of painkillers.
I say there's that bear who made himself just a little too much at home at Dr. Fauna's office, basically walking around in a shower cap and a towel, clipping his toenails.
It's the impolite version of Harry.
And then there was the ducks in a row gag on there. It was kind of a nice little joke on that one. Nice little gag.
One of my favorite things, it's a really subtle kind of small thing, but when Fluttershy is first coming in and to tell the main six about the issue that Dr. Fauna is having, Twilight gets really excited and is like, "Is it a friendship problem?" She just got so excited that it might be a friendship problem, and then it wasn't.
I think the other thing I want to see now with Fluttershy doing that ducks in a row line, I now want to see a stand-up competition between Fluttershy and Maud Pie.
Oh, God.
We all know Maud would win, though.
Yeah, of course. Fluttershy would just use the most basic of jokes.
Well, to be fair, she would have learnt them from Discord, so.
Another really good line is this was a good vocal delivery by Tabitha as well. When Rarity's talking about the expert that she has in mind for Fluttershy, and Fluttershy just kind of quietly goes, "Is it you, Rarity?" To which Rarity's like, "No." Yeah, I find it funny that Fluttershy would think that Rarity was kind of being very full of herself there.
In a similar issue, Fluttershy being like, "You'll all be helping with something special too, something that's been a dream of mine for a long time." And Pinky just comes up and is like, "Oh goody, is your dream to make a bouncy castle shaped like a gigantic bun cake?" And Fluttershy's like, "No."
No.
And then, of course, Fluttershy kind of unwittingly instigating herself as the harbinger of doom for Dr. Fauna's office being overcrowded to begin with. It's like, you're the best vet pony in Equestria. At least that's what I've been telling everyone. You did what?
No, Technotron, that's just wishful thinking on the ducks beating down Angel.
She made it a little bit too good for business there.
See. Any other humor anyone wants to mention? For animation and visuals, a couple other kind of humorous things. I really liked Angel's bunny crutches, along with that little chair that we pointed out earlier in the medicine cabinet.
I like how painful they made his foot look. I hope he was writhing in agony, that little bastard.
And how about that? I'm surprised Matt's still alive after seeing Fluttershy's face through that peephole, in the door's peephole at the hospital there, where it's all
I don't know
blown up.
No, I think what was when she had that pleading face in front of the three other ponies.
Yeah.
You know, you will try and make this for me, won't you? And she has that plea. It's like, how can you? It's like saying no to a face like that. It's saying no to a kitten. You're just a monster if you do.
Yeah, the sanctuary looked pretty nice.
Not as nice as Maud Pie's. Not as nice as Maud Pie's digs, though.
Of course not.
Gonna be honest. Maud Pie's digs are fucking rocks. Literally, it's rocks.
It's fucking rocks. Yep. So, any other humor or animation or visuals anyone wants to point out before we move on? Okay, so next we'll go on to the music, the score of the episode. So, about the same amount of tracks as the past 2 weeks. A lot of them are really short cues for Fluttershy and for a couple of the other characters. One of the interesting, if you really want to know Fluttershy's like leitmotifs that she has and all of the different cues that she has, this is a great episode to listen to because you pretty much hear all of them in enough. And Fluttershy has some really good kind of
Fluttershy.
and she has some really good pretty iconic ones in the series, probably only behind like Applejack in terms of like both the amount and kind of when you hear it you're like, oh, that's definitely like represents Applejack. Fluttershy has a lot of really good woodwind and piano and sometimes a guitar and her motifs. Other characters, they have maybe instrumentation, like Rarity will have, obviously has harpsichord for a lot of her tracks. Rainbow Dash will have some more good, electric guitar in her ones. So some of the other characters will have like instrumentation that you hear a lot for them, but you'll know that it's for them. But not necessarily many very defined cues like Applejack has and that Fluttershy has. So we hear a lot of those. In this episode that I'll point out because a lot of them are really nice and some longer versions of them as well. The episode though first starts off with Angel kind of training for his parkour match coming up. So we get this very kind of action-packed sort of march training music as he's doing it here. It has a lot of like trumpets and horns and some strings that back it up. kind of grand finish for it there. From there we go on, and Fluttershy bringing Angel to Dr. Fauna's pet vet there. So we get like this really short little cue for her here, and kind of like a little motif for her that has some glockenspiel and flutes as well. And then from there, we kind of go into one of the longer tracks from the episode. This is actually inside of the animal clinic there, with all it being overcrowded by a lot of the animals. So it kind of starts off very chaotic in the music with this very bouncy woodwind score. But then we start hearing a few of the Fluttershy cues dropped in, some of the Fluttershy leitmotifs that I was talking about earlier. So when Dr. Fauna is sweet talking to Angel, we get one of the old Fluttershy motifs there. And then another one with flute and glockenspiel happens when Fluttershy is talking to Dr. Fauna there. And then kind of variations of that theme kind of continue under Fluttershy's dialogue as she continues to talk. And then most of the rest of the track is all kind of that really chaotic music as the animals kind of take over the clinic there. Here's one of Fluttershy's key motifs. And right there, that was another one of Fluttershy's leitmotifs there. That motif there from before continues here. And these are all really old motifs. There's some ones like, like the Princess Twilight Sparkle motif, which didn't come into play until like season 4, but a lot of Applejack's ones and the Fluttershy ones here date all the way back to like the first episodes of the show in season 1. And they really do bring you back because they're very recognizable. From there, we get to the part where Fluttershy is discussing her dream with the rest of the main 6 there. So we get some really nice, more emotional score here that becomes more and more emotional as the track and her speech continues. There's some really nice guitar in it.
I've never heard you speak with such conviction.
So fast forwarding a little bit from there, we get to the scene where Fluttershy is talking to all of the experts about kind of her plans and what her dreams are for this animal sanctuary. So here the score switches between Fluttershy's style of music and her motifs, and the experts each having their own kind of musical style. So as the scene kind of switches between Fluttershy and the experts, the music follows along with it, and you'll hear slightly different kind of musical styles for each of the experts. So kind of matching the ponies that recommended them. So the fashion expert gets the the harpsichord kind of music like Rarity does. You hear a little bit more country banjo guitar track for Wrangler, and then Hard Hat gets kind of a more tough sort of mechanical sort of sound for his track there. So we start with some woodwinds here, flute and strings for Fluttershy. Here comes the harpsichord. Actually, no, this has strings and woodblock, so much like a lot of Applejack's score. There's a little alternate version of one of those Fluttershy motifs that we heard earlier. So then we reach the part where Fluttershy is talking one-on-one with Hard Hat about her plan here and her kind of unconventional plan that she has for him to build. Starting out with, again, the woodwind and guitar part here. Here's the more standard version of this Fluttershy theme. That one has like the really beautiful kind of finish there with that little cymbal hit to finish it off there. From there, we get to the scene where Fluttershy pretty much comes in and finds that nothing is being built to plan, and then kind of gets angry and dismisses all of the experts there. So we kind of start off with a shot of the construction in the scene, and it's accompanied by some like very upbeat kind of bouncy working music for everything that's going on there. Then once Fluttershy sees what's going on, the score becomes more frantic and tense as Fluttershy's temper kind of is tested there. The score kind of follows her anger and as she lists everything wrong with what the experts have done in this scene. Here's kind of Fluttershy starting to freak out. I really like this part here as the experts try and defend themselves there. From there, all the animals arrive, and kind of what you expect to happen happens with everything kind of going insane here. So it's just some fun score here for the goings on in this scene. Again, starting out here with one of Fluttershy's motifs. We have heard this score in the series before here for some other frantic moments. Let's see. So next we get the scene where Fluttershy's back in the clinic, the animal clinic, kind of talking about what goes wrong. As she's getting the critters ready for bed, we hear one of her classic leitmotifs again. That transitions to one of the kind of her more somber themes, as she's sort of talking about how things got, didn't go according to plan, things got messed up. But then she becomes more determined there as she, motivates herself again at the end of that scene, and the score follows suit there to follow her demeanor. Interesting thing about this cue right here, once we get through it, a very determined cue there is normally one that we hear for Rainbow Dash. So it's kind of interesting hearing that here for Fluttershy as she becomes really determined to fix things here.
Fluttershy is Rainbow Dash confirmed.
Congrats, Fluttershy, you're the new Rainbow Dash. Spike just wasn't working out. So one of the leitmotifs for Fluttershy from earlier returns here at the beginning of this next track as she talks to the main six about wanting to try again here. Then that kind of continues there as she kind of gets really motivated and gives that speech to them about how she's going to do it her way, and that because her expertise is the caring of animals, and the score kind of follows suit there. And then finally we get to the Big Daddy McColt arriving. That callback to the season 5's season 5's Hooffields and McColts there. And the McColt leitmotif from that episode's returns. So back in the Hooffields and McColts, both of the families had their own kind of musical motif there, with the Hooffields having this kind of more, I believe it's like bluegrass, banjo-oriented music, while the McColts were more mechanical in their score, and the instrumentation, a lot more percussion was used in their score. So again, it kind of differentiates between the one family that was more into kind of farming and the land and stuff, and then the McColts, which were much more into building stuff and building mechanical stuff and whatnot. So we hear that mechanical theme for the McColts return as Big Daddy McColt makes his appearance. Again, here's that Fluttershy theme. There's that determination here. here comes McColt. From there, we get to a montage scene, yay, of them building the sanctuary, and fittingly, the McColt's theme there wasn't the only piece of score that was reprised from that season 5 episode. Here, the track here for this montage track was actually also in that episode. It appeared during the kind of the flashback montage there, as Fluttershy was kind of giving the history of the two families and kind of how they used to work together, and then had the falling out. This track here was actually the first part of that montage scene before it started splitting up into the two families' themes at the end of that. It was also featured in the credits of the Hofields and McColts as well. So we have that reprised here for this scene with along with Big Daddy McColt. It's a little bit extended. It has a little bit more instrumentation at the end, and even goes through a key change at the very end of the track. So it's a little bit longer version of that one cue from that episode. I really like it. I was happy to hear this one because I really liked it. I really liked it in that episode. I really like the slide guitar. This guitar part here was new. And then we get to the final track here. We got Fluttershy showing Dr. Fauna the completed animal sanctuary, so we get a little bit more upbeat kind of ta-da kind of score here. From there, the episode ends as Fluttershy is sort of giving that final speech and kind of giving the episode's lesson. We get one of her woodwind and piano lesson motifs, again from very early episodes here, used in this episode as well. And here's that lesson theme. with the big finish there. So that's all the music from this episode. So a lot of kind of shorter cues here, and of course a lot of woodwinds and flute and clarinet and guitar throughout this, as per many Fluttershy episodes. So it's nice to hear all those Fluttershy themes, and kind of makes you kind of a little nostalgic for those older themes there, but really define Fluttershy now, because since the show's been going on so long now. And some nice kind of reuses of other themes there for like Big Daddy McColt and stuff, that also helping to tie it back to the previous episode there. So moving on to the next part. Kind of already discussed this, but we can hit on it one more time. What does everyone think of the episode's theme and moral?
So basically the theme here is, again, just, if you failed once, don't be afraid to try again. Also, don't let anyone, cloud your vision or anything like that. Don't let them walk all over you. If you've got your specific vision, don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Do you know what I got out of this episode? Aliens.
I was gonna say rabies.
Aliens.
Also, Ben, if you think you're an expert, or even if you're an expert, or don't go against your client's wishes. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Yep, kind of.
You never work, but instead grow some balls like Fluttershy has.
So yeah, just maintaining a two-way communication between people that are doing work for you, and experts might always not be the best, the best way of doing something there.
You know what I took out of this episode? Fluttershy is the best.
I don't know. It's horrible. Needed more Applejack. Applejack would have been.
Yeah,
Applejack would have been able to build those.
Horrible time talking about this episode. You really did.
Applejack would have been able to build that correctly the first time.
Yeah, but she didn't want
Applejack,
so she's just
wouldn't have
lazy
taken any
bitch.
guff as it was anyways.
She has other stuff to do.
What, like eating apples?
Yeah, I mean, can't bother with Fluttershy's crazy dreams. Gosh, come on, Fluttershy. So
I wonder what Applejack's dream is actually.
She's living the dream. She's already on top. She's on top.
Running the mafia.
Yeah. I don't need no dreams when you got all the money. So what is everyone's favorite parts and any other concerns for the episode?
Don't really have any particular favorite parts, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I guess for me, the thing I like the most about it is again just seeing Fluttershy not be a doormat at all, and just throughout not having to learn that again or anything, just standing up for herself for the entire episode. It was just nice seeing that accumulation of, much like Rarity's past Dream episodes and then all the recent episodes with Rainbow Dash and the Wonderbolts. It was just nice kind of seeing that definite character growth for her.
Yeah, agreed. Just Fluttershy actually standing up for herself for once.
I suppose it may not necessarily go down as one of the most memorable episodes, but it's certainly a pretty enjoyable one.
But I'd say this was a solid episode. It was pretty average. It wasn't bad by any means, but it certainly wasn't the greatest. But
so
I do have one kind of interesting moment to mention. This is probably one of the interesting episodes in the sense that this actually overrides canon in regards to comics, because the IDW comics actually mentioned that the deer, I think it was, actually had a sentient race within the world of Equestria. But this particular episode stated that no, that's not the case. Neither are the giraffes, for that matter. And you would think that even the giraffes would actually be kind of sentient, but no, they're pretty unambiguously portrayed as just nothing more than just animals.
And what a huge relief, because the deer arc in the IDW comics fucking sucked. Sorry, but it did. It sucked the major one, so I'm glad about that.
Did it actually show that the deer weren't sentient though? We just saw the one leaping through the background, right? I mean, maybe he was getting to work.
Yeah, we saw him leaping, but
if he was late to work,
actually get
I don't know.
It was leaving to get away from the IDW.
Oh, thank God, I'm back in the TV show. So overall feelings, any final conclusions for the episode?
I pretty much said what I wanted to, yeah. So.
I think it was a solid episode. I think it's Gianbaro just really kind of did what the episode was supposed to do and really knocked it out of the park in that regard. I loved the characterization and the building, and she has really great knowledge of the show, I think. So can't wait to see her next episode of this season, see where she tackles next. It was nice seeing her write. I mean, I haven't read a lot of the books like I should have. I need to find more time to read. But I know the couple that I have read, I mean, they're obviously written very easily, I guess you could say. I mean, they're really written so that younger readers can read them, which is obviously understandable. But sometimes it can be a little, if you're like an adult reading them, like maybe the basic story behind it's okay, but some of the writing is just like it's hard to read just because it's written so simply, I guess, for kids. But it's nice seeing her being able to write for the show here and not having to write in that same kind of style. She can kind of show off her writing chops a little bit better, I think, in the show. Well, with that, I think we're coming to the conclusion here. So thank you all so much for participating in Triple E today for this. We'll of course be back next week, next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Forever Philly. That's the episode that is premiering on Discovery Family Channel this weekend at 11:30. So we'll be back here discussing that next Tuesday. Obviously, kind of a CMC sort of related episode by the title. So be interesting to see kind of what we can discuss out of that. So I'm looking forward to that. In addition, this weekend we will be having our next CQ Riffs, where if you haven't seen by now, we will be doing the best movie of all time, the Oogie Loves and the Big Balloon Adventure. I don't even remember the whole title because I don't really care that much.
You mean the best movie we haven't done was Master of Disguise or anything?
It's even better. It's even better.
Holy
yeah,
hell, can't wait to see this.
So yeah, because of some of the similarity in the actors in it, we decided to go ahead and paint ourselves through that. So, yay, I guess.
Question mark?
So we'll be doing that. So make sure to join us this weekend at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for CQ Riffs, and we'll be sitting through that. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see you all next week for Forever Philly here on Triple E. So bye bye, everyone.
Take care, folks.